Addicted to creating.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the next episode of Addicted to Creating with your esteemed host, Mr. Surendran Govender, aka Suren Govender. And this week, another exciting episode. We have on board myself, Dureshan Padiachi, a stand-up comedian on a part-time basis, of course. And this is going to be a great episode, everyone. Welcome to another action-packed episode of Addicted to Creating with Suren.
Welcome, everyone. You can see the podcast is really progressing well. We're able to pay for voice artists to do introductions. Things are just, progressing exponentially, and I'm so thrilled. So anyway, today's episode of the podcast, Addicted to Creating. This is your host, Suren Govender, and today's guest is Dureshan Padiachi, and it was Dureshan's voice that you heard at the intro. Dureshan is a up-and-coming comic. I don't like to say stand-up comedian because comedians do all sorts of things, and one of the things that he's particularly strong at is impressions. So without too much of delay, I'd just like to say hello to Dureshan. Dureshan, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Suren. Very good to be here. Now, thanks for having me.
Okay, it's an absolute pleasure. So tell me, how's things going? How's your weekend been?
It's been relaxing so far.
Yeah.
But disappointed watching the United match yesterday. Another draw with Watford. But other than that, it's been good. Just trying to recharge the batteries.
Awesome. So for our listeners, Dureshan is in law. So Dureshan, you want to just tell us a little bit about the area of law that you focus on?
So I'm in contract law and corporate law. So I work for a corporate company. I deal with a lot of their third-party supplier contracts, their contracts with customers, all of that negotiation process.
Okay.
And with the legal compliance side of things, keeping up to date with the legislation and regulations, all of that stuff that I'm sure most people will find boring, but it has to. So yes, that's basically it in a nutshell. It pays the bills.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, cool. And I heard we have some exciting news because Dureshan is newly divorced. So firstly, congratulations on that. I know a lot of people will be like, "Wow, please don't smash into the car in front of you." I think these things also need to be celebrated as much as love and unions are important. It's also important to celebrate those moments in time when someone decides to part ways with a view to better days ahead. So how's divorce life treating you?
It's interesting. Initially it is a bit of shock to the system, getting used to the changes and all of that. But I think it does get better with time. And like you said, you take a positive look on things, and as long as it's an amicable sort of thing, it is for the betterment of both parties at the end of the day.
Geez, that is like a proper lawyer's response. Better in both parties. Okay. So one of the things we spoke about before this today's episode was about your impressions and some of the YouTube videos that you've done. So maybe you want to, just for the benefit of the listeners, just to begin with, how can they find your content that you've created, your impressions online? How can they find your content? Maybe you want to just tell them how they can locate it.
So basically, if you go on to YouTube and myself, if you search Dureshan Padiachi, then you'll find my channel, and then you'll see my content is on there, and you can subscribe, and then you'll have access to all my videos with my impressions and all of that on there.
Okay, so Duration, just how do you spell that?
It's DERESHEN, and Padiachi is PADAYACHEE.
Okay, so there you have it, guys. So if you want to check out some of the videos, you know, I encourage you guys to go and have a look and support this local comedian. So at this stage, I think, you know, given the poor result yesterday with Watford, you know, it's important for us to, you know, reach out for help sometimes, and sometimes help in the form of the last really successful Man United manager that, you know, we're all very, very familiar with. And it's my absolute pleasure today to invite to the Addicted to Creating Studios, Sir Alex Ferguson. Sir Alex Ferguson, welcome. And, you know, we'd love to hear about your thoughts about yesterday's game.
Thank you very much, Suren. I've got to say, watching the last few games of Manchester United, it's been disappointing. It's been painful to me as a former manager, of course. Obviously, I was in charge for over 20 years. I spent most of my life at that club, and seeing some of the performances, it's really hurt me deeply. And I do think that the club is improving. I like some of the talent out there, especially the young lad, Anthony Elanga, has impressed me. He reminds me a lot of Andy Cole, young fella, very fast, quick on his feet, and good eye for goal. He's got a good hunger about him, the young lad. Of course, he's also black, like Andy Cole's black as well. The obvious thing there. I don't like to be politically incorrect, but, you know, they're both very talented players. And unfortunately, a lot of the lads seem to be lacking a lot of confidence. If I look at Rashford, such a talented lad, but I don't know what's going on with him, to be honest. He doesn't look the same player. He looks a bit unhappy, to be honest. I don't know what's happening. You know, I'm a bit old at the moment. I'm not got my hands on the ground in terms of what's going on in the changing rooms. But I like Elanga. Apart from that, De Gea, of course, is a class act. We all know he's a world-class goalkeeper, and he's been really earning his salary with the amount of saves he's been having to make with that United defence, which is quite porous at the moment, getting opened up quite a bit, especially under Ole. You know, I love Ole like a son, but the defence was shambolic, especially the last time we played Watford, of course, was Ole's last game, and we lost 4-1, which was the final nail in Ole's coffin, unfortunately. And
so Alex,
the defense.
So Alex,
yes.
what you know, the thing that's become very apparent to me is that we, you know, just to pause with you, it's almost like our goal drought or lack of scoring goals is almost, it's almost like constipation. Okay. And I think I'm fortunate today to bring in the expertise of someone who works in those sort of nether regions, you know. And I'd like to introduce you to my mystery guest, who will introduce himself now and really qualify for us this constipated problem that we have as Man United for scoring goals. So let me welcome the mystery guest.
Thank you very much, Suren. And the mystery is that I am Raj Mystery, and I am a qualified proctologist. So I deal a lot with the anus rectum area. And of course, one of the common problems, apart from piles, aka hemorrhoids, is constipation. And in fact, constipation can lead to piles, hemorrhoids. So if we relate that to Manchester United,
in a very layman's sense, these things are not flowing as they should. And in a anatomy form, this means the bowels are clogged up, and therefore the fecal matter is not getting to escape freely. And this is causing a lot of pain and actually even blood loss and agony in the process. And similar to United, we cannot penetrate the goal area and score with all the talent in the world. And this is very excruciating to watch as a supporter. We keep trying to push and push and push, and there is nothing coming out. There is nothing positive coming out of it. And this is very painful on an emotional and physical level. So this is how it relates to constipation.
Okay, thank you so much for that. You know, it's funny you should mention piles because, you know, I went through that pile operation. Or sometimes
Really?
commonly known as a rebore. And you know, one of the things is it's so painful, and you know, you really need some comfort sometimes, and you know, just to hear sometimes, you know, like you know, go back to your child days and just listening to a childhood nursery rhyme, like if it's, you know, twinkle twinkle little star, and so that kind of calmed me down, you know. And I've heard of this famous Man United footballer, a legendary guy who ended up, you know, playing in the US, and he represented Real Madrid. And you know, we were chatting the other day, and you know, he too found that singing or at least reciting nursery rhymes for his kids was very, very pleasing. It's actually quite strange, because you would think that his pop star wife would be the one to be delegated to sing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, or at least recite Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. So I'd actually like to bring in this mystery guest who is going to recite in his way Twinkle Twinkle Little Star in his unique style. And that just, you know, I just know that's going to give so much more relief, not just for me, because now the memories of that pile operation is just, you know, and I'm traumatized just thinking about it. So I'm going to bring in this famous guy, and I'll introduce you to him after that.
Thank you very much, Suren. It's David Beckham here. Do you really want me to sing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star?
I think,
Really?
you know, just reciting it, I don't need you to sing it, you know. I mean, geez whiz, you know, I don't know how much more traumatic it's going to be hearing you sing, but, you know, maybe just your voice, it'll be interesting to hear how your kids responded to it.
All right, I'll go for it. Most people, they usually like my face and my body, but not so much my voice, you know. But here we go. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, twinkling in a little sky. To be honest, I can't even remember the words right now. I think I think I've had too many drinks today. I'm allowed to drink now that I'm not playing for Sir Alex anymore. He was very he had me on a tight leash.
And so does your wife.
Yeah, that's right. Right.
So
she's
so
got
guys,
me doing a lot of commercials.
So guys, we went into a whole bunch of impressions there, and I really enjoyed it. It was amazing. So you know, I'm interested to know, obviously, I'd imagine with what you went through personally, you must be have tons of how can I say, material that you're working on. So tell me a little bit more about your process, apart from the impressions, or maybe both the impressions and your content for the comedy. How do you go about it? Because I know certain comedians have different ways about it. Some people can just elaborate on a cue card. Some people, you know, need to meticulously prepare. I was listening to Jerry Seinfeld recently, and he still has, I think, a filing cabinet or storage where he's got his jokes written out. So, you know, for the benefit of those out there that sometimes may just think, oh, well, writing jokes is quite easy. You just need to have the personality, and it comes, you just need to be a funny guy, and a way to read people's energy. So what's your process?
I think you're right. So a lot of people, it's they do it differently. What I found works for me is that I tried to be very meticulous about it at one stage when I used to do a lot of stand-up in Durban. And I found that for me, I preferred to just make notes, brief points, rather than write detailed notes or a script, because I found that when performing, if I deviated from the script, it would kind of throw me off a bit. And
Right.
I prefer to keep it a bit off the cuff and just know what I'm going to be talking about and write down the brief notes, but not to make it where it has to be exactly what's written down, because you also feed off your audience, and sometimes things may happen and you want to pick up on that. So I try to keep it a bit improvisational in that sense,
Yeah.
but just to have a brief content of what I'm going to be talking about. And I also draw a lot of inspiration from sports, because I'm a big sports fan when it comes to soccer, cricket as well, and even rugby and other sports as well. And also a lot of cinema, like movies. I enjoy my gangster movies and other series. So try to draw a lot of inspiration from that and from experiences that I've had as well that people can relate to.
Yeah. And so, I mean, if you look at some of your comedic, some of the comedic legends that you've listened to or watched, who are some of the comedians, or even not necessarily stand-up comedians, those that have created certain television or movies that you you draw a lot of inspiration from?
I think I always, growing up, I was a big fan of Robin Williams. I thought he was brilliant. He was so versatile how he could do different accents and comedies, and he could also do drama as well. So such a versatile actor. Jim Carrey is a legend as well. Especially, I enjoyed The Mask, Ace Ventura, where he could just get into a new personality like that. He was amazing. I enjoyed the Wayans brothers, Sean Wayans, Marlon Wayans, watching In Living Color. Those sort of things I found very funny. Stand-up comedy, I enjoyed Pablo Francisco. He's also very good with his accent, so that inspired me a lot as well.
Yeah.
And the local guys, I think Trevor Noah, everybody knows, he's brilliant in terms of his stand-up comedy and with the Daily Show. Also, there's Loiso Kola. There's so many in South Africa, talented people. There was a guy, Robbie Collins, that I did some comedy with, and he's doing very well as well. So there's so much of local talent as well.
It's interesting you mentioned Robbie Collins, because Robbie is, I think, related to one of my good friends. And last night, actually, before preparing for today's podcast, I was actually went on to Robbie Collins' 15-minute bit on Netflix, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And it was late last night, and it was about probably between 1 o'clock in the morning. And I just couldn't stop laughing with the bit that he did about, the fact that as South Africans, we've become like idols judges when we see the guys begging at the robots. So he's like, there's the one guy who does 10 flips. And after he does the 10 flips, you give him $5. And then the one day the guy does these flips and he's like losing his balance. And then he comes to the window and Robbie says, hey, you missed 2 flips. And he didn't give the guy his money. So it was I couldn't stop laughing, and it was funny because after that I actually went on to I started watching Loiso Gola's latest Netflix special. I think it was shot in Cape Town. And I stopped. I probably went about 5-10 minutes in it. It's really good. And then I decided I should get some sleep. But yeah, I think even with me, I think I really enjoy. I think Trevor Noah has just been amazing from a local perspective. The other thing I find is, I think there's almost a hesitation these days with some of the local comedians to mention Trevor Noah, and it's for two
Yeah,
reasons. Quite frankly, some of them are just downright jealous about the meteoric
his success.
success he's
Yeah,
made, right? So they'll try to play it down. And if you think about the fact that he went into a market that he knew so little about, and for him to
100%.
get into the into the what is it, the Tonight
The
Show
Daily
with
Show.
the Daily Show with Jon
Yeah,
Stewart. I mean, that was a show that was running for God knows how long, and for him to then decide to choose Trevor Noah, I mean, that, there was so many other comedians that would have jumped at getting that opportunity. They would have dropped stand-up
yes.
comedy just to get that gig. I think that's phenomenal. And I was listening to a lot also on other podcasts where he was interviewed about his preparation for doing that show. So speaking of preparation, so what's your plans in the next year or so, in terms of, let's just call it, reinvigorating the comedy? And like I said, you got to take the positives with the negatives. COVID has given comedians so much of content. And you can
Yeah,
see it. I mean, the guys that are now coming out with specials, they are striking it at a level that is just insane, because they've had 2 years of material that's been building up, and they need to almost vomit it out before it becomes irrelevant. So what's your plans? How do you plan to kind of market it? Are you going to do a lot of online? What's your strategy? Or are you going to some of the clubs? Maybe for those that are not familiar in the local side, how do you kind of try to get established with your comedy?
So at the moment, I'm really trying to work on stuff to keep going on the online with the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Because of COVID, with the whole situation, the lockdowns and restrictions, I think that has been the way to go, to really go online and put a lot of content on YouTube and other platforms as much as possible.
Yeah.
I used to do a lot of shows a while ago, but I'm definitely open for emceeing, for doing new shows if I do get the opportunity, and just working on my content and pushing that through the channel. Yeah, so that's pretty much the strategy. Even doing voiceovers,
Yeah.
possibly for animations, things like that.
Okay.
That is something I definitely would like to get into.
Okay. So that's great, because I mean, at least you've got various channels in which you can direct the comedic writing, and channel the comedy, which is I think we're in a very fortunate state this day and age. Back then people were limited to theaters or to nightclubs. Now you can be an overnight success by having a really amazing bit that's on YouTube. So we wish you well on that, and I'm sure that as we with the as you start putting more content and your exposure increases, I'm confident that you're going to get a lot more hits and likes, and hopefully a girlfriend soon.
Thanks so much. Yeah, I'm sure my parents are hoping for that. I've thrown them a curveball. They were waiting for grandchildren, so now they're gonna have to wait a lot longer.
uh, so one of the other impressions that I listened to that I quite enjoyed is you do this bit on your videos where you are this ESPN guy who's introducing you do I think it's boxing, and you introduced Rocky Balboa. Maybe before we close out, you want to just do a bit of that bit where the ESPN guy introduces Rocky, and if I think there's a dialogue between Rocky and his coach or trainer, just talking
Yes.
about Rocky's progress. So So yeah, I'd love to hear that again.
Okay, no problem.
Hello, we're here at ESPN Live, and today it's the Legends Show. And we're doing boxing legends here today. It's going to be a great episode, so I hope you're ready. And it's the former heavyweight champion of the world, Rocky Balboa, with his legendary coach, Mickey. We don't know what his surname is, but he's Mickey. And yes, he's still alive, actually. He's alive and well. And we've got both of them on the show today. So it's a real privilege. Let me hand over to the champ, the Italian stallion, Rocky Balboa. Rocky, how are you doing, champ? Yo, thank you very much, Bob. I'm doing all right, Of course, I got Adrian at home down in Philly. And, I'm recovering after my career in the ring. Of course, taking a lot of shots to the head. I got a bit of brain damage, I think. But, I'm doing all right. I'm doing a bit of entertainment. I got a club, got a restaurant as well. So, yeah, of course, I'm on the show. I'm getting some money from that. So great to be here. Great to be here. Thanks so much, Rocky. Let's go over to Mickey. Mickey, tell me about how was it to train this guy, Rocky? How did you go about it? What was your process? And are you proud now looking back at Rocky's career and, of course, your career as his trainer? This kid, when I first met this kid, he was nothing but a bum. I got to be honest with you. I hope that's not a swear word. I don't think it is. But he was a bum. And he was doing jobs for loan sharks. And I could see this kid, he's got so much of talent. He was built like a truck. Sure, he was dumb as bricks, but he was a real tough SOB. And I could see the kid had heart, So, of course, I got him to fight Apollo. And, it was legendary. First fight, of course, was a draw. Then he came back and he won the title. And I never seen a kid take so much punishment. He's probably paying for it now, but I mean, he was the heavyweight champion. And I feel very proud that I got him to that position. And yeah, he's like a son to me. I never got married, never had no kids. I was married to boxing, So yeah, it's really I get emotional when I talk about this, people laugh when I made him chase that chicken around and stuff like that, but I gotta get his feet moving, and that's how got him to work the body. Because Apollo, to be honest, was a much better fighter than him. It's just that Rocky, he had more heart at the end of the day. He was a real tough. That's why they call him the Italian stallion. So yeah, that's it. And that's pretty much the best thing I did in my life. I didn't have anything else going for me. Thank you so much, Mickey. You really are a legend, and I'm amazed that you're alive at this age. I'm not even sure. I don't even want to know how old you are, Mickey. But we all thought you died in Rocky III. But anyway, it's great to have you here. And Rocky, we wish you all the best with your restaurant and with Adrian and Mickey, of course. And let's call it a day for the show. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Well done. So we were chatting before we started this. Is there any, so your process with the impressions, do you find it's easier just with repeatedly listening to the same content over and over again, or do you try to expand on the vocabulary for that, that impression? So you try and listen to different bits of Stallone, or do you kind of, okay, you get the accent and now you just expand on the vocabulary on your own? What do you find is kind of the better way of doing it?
I find that if I listen to the accent and eventually if I get the accent and then I kind of just play around with it and expand on it to make it more funny, because obviously Rocky, it wasn't meant to be a comedy, but there's a lot of sort of funny things you can draw out of it.
Yes.
Especially watching it as a South African and you're seeing Sylvester Stallone with the way he talks and stuff. And it can actually be made into a comedic stunt. So That's what I kind of like to do. Even with the sports, if you're watching test match cricket, it's not funny, but I try to make it funny by bringing in the accents and making jokes out of it.
So viewers or subscribers to your channel will see that you're a animal lover. So tell us about your dogs.
Yes, so that's funny that you bring that up. So actually, my dog is a Maltese.
You still have the dogs, right? It's not taken away after the settlement. You still have it, right?
No, I don't. I don't have it. So
are they gone? I mean, seriously, they're gone. Oh no.
Yeah, so I have the Maltese, but it's unfortunately it's not with me anymore. I was on a joint custody thing for a while, but then decided to stop that. So yeah, but I do see my sister's dog.
That's a comedic bit on its own, you know. I'm just thinking about the custody battle and the court case with, you know, interviewing the two pups or the dogs about where they would like to stay, would they like to stay with mommy or daddy, and how difficult it's been on them.
Yeah, I suppose that was probably one of the more difficult things, because you know the dog becomes part of the family, but unfortunately, I suppose I'll have to get another dog.
Okay, no, cool.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So Dhareshan, just in closing, thank you so much for making time. Just as a parting shot, is there anything that you would like to mention to the listeners as a parting shot before we close off?
Thanks so much, Suren, for having me on your podcast. It's been a real pleasure to be here and to talk to you. It's been really engaging. To the listeners, if you can go onto my YouTube channel, Dhareshan Padyachi, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll be posting some more content. And I hope you enjoy it and support me as much as you can. And then thanks again to you, Suren.
Perfect. It was an absolute pleasure, and we wish you all the very, very best. I'm a firm believer, Dee, that South Africans are so talented that sometimes we kind of sell ourselves short by, you know, consuming so much of British and American humor. I mean, just on any given day, just based on what our politicians are doing, you know, the own goals that they are scoring every single day, whether it's the budget speech or, you know, Jay-Z or Ramaphosa putting his mask on incorrectly. You know, there's just so much, and we have such talented people. So I wish you all the best, and I hope that your comedic adventures grow from strength to strength, and we look forward to catching up with you in forthcoming podcasts where you can tell us a little bit more about your successes and about you know, your plans for marriage number 2.
Thanks so much, Suren, and I wish you all the best for the podcast as well. I think it's a great initiative, and it's been a real pleasure.
Thanks, man.
Thanks a lot.
Addicted to creating.